Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born among the Bani Hashim family in Mecca on Monday morning, 9 Rabiul Awwal, the beginning of the year of the elephant incident, and 40 years after the reign of Kisra and Nisirwan, or coinciding with April 20th or 22nd in 571 AD. Ibn Sa'd narrated that the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "After my baby came out, I saw a light coming out of my genitals, shining on the palace in Syria, and coincided with the time of his birth, the collapse of the 14 statues of the Kisra palace, the extinguishing of the fire, which was usually worshipped, the Magi, as well as the collapse of several churches around Buhaira. After Amina gave birth, he sent a messenger to his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, to convey a happy picture of the birth of his grandson. Abdul Muttalib came with feelings of joy, then took his grandson into the Kaaba, while praying to Allah and thanking him. Abdul Muttalib chose the name Muhammad. This name is not yet known in the Arab world. The woman who first breastfed him after his mother was Suwayba. She was a servant of Abu Lahab, who happened to be breastfeeding her child named Masru. Previously, this woman also breastfed Abu Salama bin Abdul Asad al-Makhzumi, a tradition that runs in relatively advanced Arab nations, where they look for women who can breastfeed their children. The aim is to keep their children away from diseases that commonly spread in developed areas, so that the baby's body becomes strong, his muscles are strong, and so that breastfeeding families can practice Arabic. So Abdul Muttalib looked for a woman who could breastfeed his grandchildren. Every time Abdul Muttalib offered to breastfeed Rasulullah, they always refused because they knew that Rasulullah was an orphan, which is not surprising because these women expected adequate compensation from the father of the baby they breastfed. Finally, Abdul Muttalib asked a woman from Bani Sa'd bin Bakr to breastfeed his grandson, Halima bint Abu Ju'ab, accompanied by her husband, Al-Harith bin Abdul Utsa, nicknamed Abu Kabsiyah from the same tribe. Halima's condition at that time was not good. Halima did not even sleep all night, because she had to comfort her baby, who was always crying because he was hungry. Halima's breast milk also cannot be expected, because even a drop cannot come out. Halima also still hopes for help and a way out. Because she felt sorry for Rasulullah's condition, Halima said to her husband, "By Allah, I will take the baby." Her husband answered, "Don't do that." Halima also said that may Allah bless us by taking the child. Halima immediately went to meet Rasulullah, who was still a baby. And Halima was ready to take Rasulullah back to Halima's house after carrying Rasulullah, who was still a baby. Halima as if she would not feel bothered because she had another burden. Halima immediately returned to her husband, and at that moment Halima gave her nipple to Rasulullah, who was still a baby. Immediately Rasulullah, who was still a baby, sucked up her milk and drank it until she was full. Halima's own children can also drink their milk until they are full. After that, Rasulullah, who was still a baby, and his child fell asleep soundly. In fact, before that, Halima's biological child had never slept soundly because he was hungry due to Halima's milk not coming out. Then Halima's husband came out to his old camel. How surprised Halima's husband was because his camel's milk was full, even though before that their camel was already old and couldn't take even a drop of its milk. After that, Halima's husband immediately took the camel's milk and immediately drank it until he was full, and Halima also drank it until she was full. They both immediately fell asleep. That night was a very beautiful night for them. In the morning, Halima's husband said to Halima, "By Allah, do you know, Halima, you have taken a soul full of blessings." Halima as-Sa'diyah also said, "By Allah, I hope so." Then they prepared to leave, and Halima rode on her donkey. All of Halima's belongings were carried together on her back. By Allah, after they have traveled quite far, the donkeys will definitely not be able to carry the burden that Halima had on her donkey's back. So Halima's group and colleagues said to Halima, "O daughter of Abu Ju'ab, woe to you! Wait for us, isn't this your donkey that you brought with us before?" Halima replied, "By Allah, that's how it is." "This is my old donkey," they answered. "By Allah, your donkey has become stronger and stronger." Because Halima's donkey was walking carrying all the burden on her back at the front and almost left her group behind. After walking quite a distance, Halima arrived at her residence in the Bani Sa'd bin Bakr area. Halima was surprised to see that her piece of land was more fertile than before. Halima's sheep came to Halima in a state of fullness, and the sheep's milk was also full so that Halima could express the milk and drink it. Meanwhile, Halima's group and friends had arrived in their respective homes and immediately squeezed their sheep's milk. But their sheep's milk did not come out even a drop, and the sheep's milk glands were flat. Halima always received additional blessings and kindness from Allah during the 2 years of breastfeeding Rasulullah. Then Halima took care of him so that Rasulullah grew well, unlike other babies. Even before 2 years, Rasulullah grew rapidly. Then Halima took the little Rasulullah to her mother, even though Halima hoped that the little Rasulullah would still be among them, because Halima could feel his blessing. So, Halima conveyed this intention to Rasulullah's mother. "If only you are willing to let your child stay with us until he grows up, because I'm worried that he will catch a disease that is common in Mecca," said Halima to Rasulullah's mother. Halima continuously seduced her mother so that little Rasulullah lived with her. That's how Rasulullah lived in the midst of the Bani Sa'd bin Bakr until finally Rasulullah was 4 or 5 years old, when the incident occurred when Rasulullah's breasts were cut open. While Rasulullah was playing with other small children, Rasulullah was visited by the angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel held him and laid him down, then cut open the chest, and took out the heart of Rasulullah and took out a clot of blood from the heart of Rasulullah. The angel Gabriel said, "This is the part of Satan that is in you." Then the angel Gabriel washed it in a place using Zamzam water. After that, the angel Gabriel returned the heart of the messenger of Allah and put it in its original place. Other small children who saw the incident immediately ran in fear, shouting, "Muhammad has been killed." Halima, who heard this, immediately rushed with her entourage to approach the messenger of Allah. When she got there, Halima was shocked by the amount of blood, and Halima immediately approached the messenger of Allah and was confused because the messenger of Allah was fine. He didn't even have the slightest injury, and his face was even more radiant.